I had a bit of trouble thinking of what game I wanted to do next after my last review. I even played through a co-op game with my friends and recorded a lot of stuff, but ultimately decided not to review it on account I was playing sporadically and couldn't get my thoughts in order. Needless to say, this left me at a bit of a loss. At least I was lost until some of the coolest gaming news I've seen in a while came along. The Naughty Dog classic Jak and Daxter: The Precursor legacy was getting ported to PC by some independent developers. And I do mean ported. This is not an emulated version you're seeing here. This version of the game runs natively on my PC. As far as I can tell, they did this out of the kindness of their hearts and were not monetarily compensated in any way. First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you to these developers for their hard work, and their project has come out
amazing!
To say that I'm excited to go back and review this game is a little bit of an understatement. Jak and Daxter is one of my favorite games, and I've played it since I was 6 years old. I like to come back to it whenever I need a little pick-me-up. It's essentially my digital equivalent to a safe space. I've already completed 2 playthroughs and I'm working on a third. I had to pull myself away to do this review, so let's jump in. Per the usual, stories up first.
But that's nothing compared to the challenges that lie ahead.
Then no problem. We got the moves, eh, Jak? We'd love to stay in chat, Big Green, but we're, itching to get on with our adventures.
Jak and Daxter opens with narration from Samos the Sage. We are given some light lore about the ancient race called the Precursors that vanished ages ago with no real explanation. Something massive is about to happen that Samos can't put his finger on, but he knows it will involve a young boy named Jak. Once the narration is done, we cut to Jak and his best friend Daxter arriving at Misty Island to explore. The pair see some nefarious plotting being done by the game's villains and for some reason decide to stick around. This leads to Daxter being plunged into a substance called Dark Eco. Daxter is then spat back out, but now he's some sort of talking weasel. Both the boys return to Samos where he informs them the only way to turn Daxter back is to visit another sage that lives far to the north. After that, the player is set free on a third-person platforming collectathon. The story isn't exactly deep and it is mostly a lighthearted romp through interesting locations, but I think the narrative's perfect for what it is. I get the same feeling playing this game as I do watching old Adventure DreamWorks films like Sinbad or El Dorado. And of course, this tone carries through to the occasional childish adult humor. I mean, take a look at Jak here, getting an eye full of Kira's cheeks.
Boy, you nasty.
It's easygoing to say the least, and it's refreshing to play a game with this type of tone on account that every modern game seems to need a healthy dose of dread to be considered good. Of course, I'm not trying to say I don't want to see dread or macabre shit in my games, because, you know.
I ain't no bitch.
To put it simple, the story's enjoyable but lacks profound message and lore. I would have liked to see the world of the first game get fleshed out more, especially considering the following 2 games went in a completely different direction. So the final verdict for the story would have to be good, but not great. And with that, let's take a look at a long-forgotten gameplay style, the 3D platformer. Like I said earlier, Jak and Daxter is a collectathon. The player is expected to navigate a wide variety of areas through a semi-open world and collect different items along the way to progress the story. Each area has a unique feel to it, and the platforming will always challenge you in a different way than the area previous. This is accentuated by the different tasks to complete that are often given by one of the game's memorable characters. Naughty Dog adds more layers to the gameplay with the different combat abilities that players can use by acquiring one of the 4 different ecos. Depending on what eco you grab will determine what timed boost to one of your attributes you get. For example, blue eco makes you faster. These mechanics are welcomed and help shake up the attributes from just Players can expect a decent number of enemies on their playthrough, and only being able to take a max of 4 hits from any of them adds a needed challenge to the experience. I say this because the game isn't very hard. For example, when the player is hit, a short period of invincibility is given to them. And if you do manage to die, don't worry, the checkpoint system is extremely generous, and there is no penalty for death other than being sent back a few steps. Anyone can 100% this game if they have the patience to keep trying. So if you're one of these die-hard Souls types that like their balls crushed or their clam slammed, you might want to look elsewhere. You'd be missing out though, because in my opinion this is one of the best third-person platformers you're ever going to play. With 2 of my criteria discussed, let's take a look at the presentation.
Hey! Lil furry dude! Oh, I thought for a moment you were my muse.
Your what?
Haven't you ever seen a muse before?
The music that fills the world of Jak and Daxter is the closest thing you can get to perfect to me. The composer of the game's themes is a man by the name of Josh Mansell, and this is his opus. Each bit of music encapsulates the areas that the player is in. I describe it that Naughty Dog made a level and the music just came in naturally. This is how I feel when each of the level's themes bless my eardrums. I can't make this shit up. Moving on though, the voice acting is done very well. Each character is brought to life by a lot of talented people, but like I said, the writing doesn't give them a ton to work with. Despite this, every character is memorable, even though most of them only have the sole purpose of handing me a task for a collectible. When it comes to the game's visuals, I'd like to highlight what the Open Goal development team did here. Jak and Daxter has always looked subjectively good with its colorful art style, but lacked a bit of modern clarity with the PS2 version and the PS3 remaster. I'm happy to say that's not the case with this PC port. Players can expect a crispy 60 frames per second, HD quality images, along with standard PC settings that can be adjusted freely.
It's enough to make a grown man cry.
Now, I can't say the visuals are completely infallible. After all, the game is over 20 years old. Some of the polygons of the character models along with the textures and the environments look a bit jagged, and there are sometimes visual glitches. I was under the impression this was exclusively an Open Goal port problem, but I popped in my PS2 copy of the game and was seeing the same issues, so I believe this is left over from the game's original development. At this point, I would like to point out that none of the nitpicks or complaints I mentioned detract away from this game enough for me not to recommend it. Jak and Daxter means a lot to me, and I can recommend it to anyone who enjoys video games. It's fun and easily accessible to the average gamer. If you want to give it a go, I have a few choices I would like to recommend. The original PS2 version, the PS3 remastered collection, or the Open Goal PC port. The world's your oyster. And in conclusion, I'd like to thank Naughty Dog for making the Jak series, and the Open Goal PC team for bringing Jak to modern day gaming. Y'all have managed to make the fat little 6-year-old inside me very happy. You heard me. Below I included a link to a video on how to get this port running on PC, along with a video explaining the Open Goal development process. Please check that out. It gives a lot of context on how much work had to go into making this port possible. That's pretty much all I have for you today. I have my third playthrough on my Steam Deck calling my name, so until next time.